Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Selfish Confidence Podcast. It's Jess here, and whether you are out for a walk, or you are in the car, or folding the laundry, or whatever you are doing today, sis, I'm just so glad that you are here, hanging out with us and chatting all the things, because I have a good episode for you today. I am feeling all of the emotions this morning, and I feel like let's just blame it on the planets, or, we could also be in tune with our emotions and be feeling some things. Because I bet you're feeling some things too. I hope this episode today reminds you of something you may have forgotten, maybe about yourself or something that you've been wanting to step into, and to remind yourself that you don't need to become something new. You don't need to, throw all these pieces away and to shit on yourself. No, sis. You just need to remember who you are and come home to who you have always been, because that's where the magic is. And that's what we're going to dive into today. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about life transitions and the big seasons of change that we can go through and what that means for who we are and who we're becoming. I have a little fun story for you today as I am sitting here. I've said this before. Where I'm sitting is in my podcast chair in my office space with my mic and my notes and my iced coffee, and beside me is a basket filled with different decks of cards. And if you've ever come to one of my retreats or an event or even to my house, you know that I have a bunch of different decks of oracle cards that I have gotten throughout the years from friends and things I've ordered for myself, and I just use them as tools to connect with spirit, to connect with God, and to find different messages. And so I was like, you know what, before I sit down today, I'm gonna pull a card. And I felt this pull towards this dragon oracle deck. And this is a deck that I don't often grab, and I don't really I just don't think about it as much, because it was actually a gift from my son, and he's born in the Chinese New Year of the dragon. Just last year he was born on the last day of the new year of the dragon. So instead of becoming a snake, it was kind of this I don't know what he's going to be and when he's going to be born, but it was a really big deal for us to have him born as a dragon, as this fire, beautiful, strong energy. And he literally came at the very last minute. And so a friend of mine bought me this deck of the dragon cards because our little guy is a dragon, and which I just think is the coolest thing ever. How cool is that? Cool. And this morning I pulled a card really quickly. I was shuffling and this flew across the room, and it was the rose pink dragon, which I think is very fitting and on brand here at Selfish Confidence, where we're all about the pink life, right? But also it's just about preparing your heart to connect with something greater than you, preparing your heart to feel the love that's around us. And this card was very much focused on love. And one of the things on my vision board is to do all things with love. Everything we create, every podcast episode, every sisterhood meetup, every message that I send, it is in the energy of love, because I think more than ever, that is what our world needs. We need so much love. We need to be seeing the good and seeing the light and seeing the love around us. And I also saw this post this week that talked about the inconvenience of having a village, the inconvenience of having community, what an inconvenience it is to, have to make this or go to this event or to do these things. That's part of it. But what a privilege it is to be inconvenienced, to be surrounded by love, to have people to love, to have people who want to spend time with you, to have people to show up for you, but also that you're able to show up for. And I just think we need that reminder more and more around community, around love, around just the energy in the world. Because as you know, it's pretty crazy out there. She's crazy out there. And now more than ever, we need to be focusing on love. And if for you right now, it's a season of self-love, I get it. We need that too. I love that for you. And I really do think that the energy of love needs to start with self before we're, spreading it out to the whole world, even though I think often it's easier for people to give it to other people before they give it to themselves. But I hope you're in a season of self-love. You deserve it, my sister. I see you. I think we all just need a little extra love. How many times did I just say love in this episode? I think we're at our quota. So let's move on to today's topic. We are chatting today about life transitions, about these big seasons of change that we have in our life. And I know that I have talked about this on the podcast before, but this theme keeps coming up more and more for so many of us who are going through big changes, and also for myself, as today, our son is officially in daycare. Like he is going. I keep checking my phone to see that she's texted me or has been like, he isn't napping. Because I said, if he doesn't go down for a nap, text me. I'll come get him. I haven't gotten a text. And I'm going to count that as a win. I'm just going to roll with this energy and remember that these seasons of change are what build us, build me, build him, build our family. And it's not always easy. Transitions in general are not always easy. And I was thinking about some of the big ones that have happened globally for all of us, but also independently. Some of these transitions that happen in our lives that truly shape who we are. And we just like roll it off our shoulder like it ain't no thing. But it is a thing. It's like a huge thing. And you're a whole brand new person. And that needs to be acknowledged and celebrated and also understood. And some of these seasons of change that we have in our lives could be separations, divorces, breakups that we have in our lives. Those are massive changes. The binding of a relationship being severed and changed is going to have an impact on who you are. Of course, right? We also have, how about a new job? These new transitions into jobs that we have, whether that's in the same field, into something different, coming out of university and going into your first like real job, huge life transitions that we just kind of like brush off, but they're really big deals. And also sometimes maybe you've been in a job for a really long time and you're feeling this pull for something new, for something different that feels really strange. That is a massive transition. It's an identity shift that can take hold of everything you've ever believed about who you are. We also have moving to new cities, new countries, moving like we did to Barbados, experiencing a whole different culture. That is a massive transition because you're not only moving your stuff, you're physically moving who you are, you're moving your culture, your beliefs, the things that you have created into a whole brand new space. And experiencing that several times from moving from my hometown to where we live currently. I came here for university, fell in love. It became where we decided to lay our roots down, but also moving to another country so my husband could work on a project there. We lived in Barbados for almost 2 years, and that was, well, I wouldn't have this podcast had that not happened. It was the wildest transition that I've ever been in my entire life. And it simultaneously lined up with the pandemic, which I think is now one that we don't often talk about, but still being 6 years ago, shifted everything for everyone. Like all of us, the whole earth was shifted in that experience. And that was a major life transition that, again, we kind of don't blink at anymore. We just say, oh yeah, that happened. We've moved on. We're in a whole new world. Like we're literally in a whole new world because of that experience. These are massive life transitions that happen that shape who you are, that you're brushing off like it ain't no thing. Like again, remember, these are huge things that have happened in your life. And again, a real big one for us recently is parenthood, right? Becoming a parent, becoming a caretaker of any kind, whether that is for a child or for a parent. These are big identity shifting transitions that happen in your life, and they're huge. It shifts everything. It shifts your schedule, it shifts your energy levels. It is changing absolutely every aspect of your life, and you're expecting yourself to stay the same. Oh man, I feel that you're expecting yourself to stay the same. And sometimes it's hard because in these transitions you don't always love the version of you that comes out of it. And it takes time to adjust to this. And whether that's a physical transition, like for me becoming a parent and the changes of my body is absolutely wild. The whole thing is absolutely wild that you can just like create a human with your body. That's just the strangest thing. But not only the physical changes, the mental changes that can come with some of these life transitions, and the identity aspect. The identity aspect is huge, especially if you're someone who has always been a carpenter. I don't know if that's why, I don't know why that one's the one, but if you've always been a carpenter and you are so good at carpentry, but all of a sudden you've decided you wanted to be a doctor, that is a huge identity piece too. And explaining that to other people just does not make sense. And I find that the hardest part when it comes to life transitions is, one, figuring it out for yourself, but sharing it with the world and having other people create opinions about this and judgments about this on you that make you question everything too is the hardest part. I am really reserved with a lot of this stuff that until I know it to be true, until I know it to be my thing, I'm probably not going to share it with the world. I might share it on this podcast before I share it with the world, but I do really struggle with this piece because I have had judgments around me my whole life, expectations around me my whole life. And also I've been bullied a lot in my life. And even the other day, I put this tracker up on my wall and my husband came and he's like, "Oh, what a cool tracker. You made that? What are you tracking?" And like asking all these questions with genuine interest. I love you, honey. I know you're listening. I love you. With genuine interest. And I just shut down because I was so afraid to share with him what I wanted to achieve. I think for a couple reasons. One, because then I have to do it. The tracker's there. Obviously I got to do it. But also because I think I have been bullied so much for my decisions and the things that I have wanted to do and judged so much that I'm really hesitant to share them because there's that fear of judgment, even from the people who love us, right? And these life transitions create layers of judgment around us and a hardness around us because we don't want to be hurt again. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to have to explain what we want. And sometimes it's easier to hide. So I see you, sis, if you're feeling this energy too, and you're in a season of change that you kind of want to hermit away for a little bit, the butterfly, she had to cocoon for a bit. She had to hide away. She had to get all gooey and mushy and figure her shit out before she could come out the butterfly. So if you're feeling that energy that you need to just tuck away and not tell anyone about whatever you're experiencing, I support you. I'm here for you. But also sometimes it is easier to share it with someone else, to put it out there, to tell someone what you want to achieve, to tell someone how you're feeling in these life changes, because it just makes it a little more real. We need that support. We need that community around us. And this is something that's changing everything about who you are. The experience that you're going through is changing every aspect of your life. So let's not brush this off. Let's not shake off the dirt. Let's dive into what I do in big seasons of change to navigate who I'm becoming, understand who I'm becoming, and also to love who I'm becoming. Because again, this is a really hard thing, especially if you have loved prior versions of yourself, which I do and have so deeply. Bringing these changes sometimes shakes up. You're like, "What, do I still love myself? Am I still figuring this out? Who the heck am I anyway?" And so through that process, how do we get back to that point of acceptance and love? So I wanted to share with you a couple of my life changes that have happened, mostly in my adult years. So first being, of course, moving to a new city at 19 years old to go to university and not knowing anyone is wild. Now that I look back on it, just like a sweet little baby girl moving to the big city and had no idea what was about to hit her, what was about to happen. And that's a big change in itself. That one is often celebrated and accepted in a lot of ways because it's almost like you're coming out into the world and living your life into adulthood. But it's a big, scary change, and it is one that almost severs that attachment from your parents so that you can figure out who you are without having these influences around you all the time. And it certainly did for me. Going to university 2.5 hours away from where my family was hard, and also a really great experience for me to understand who I am and experience that in a way that I never had before, because I've just always had the influence of my parents, and they're wonderful people, but I really needed to become me. And that wasn't going to happen. I don't think that would have happened had I stayed home and, went to university and lived at home and all of that, which is great for some people. But for me, I really needed that step out. And that step out, I think, was the beginning of many life transitions, but the biggest one being figuring out who I am without the influence of my family around. At that time too, I had a boyfriend who I thought was going to be the forever, and he was not, and also experiencing some of the most devastating breakups of my life. And this experience was huge because those are massive transitions. They change who you are, and you think you know who you are, right? Like, this is it. This is the person I'm going to be with forever, and it's going to be the best thing ever. And we're going to live happily ever after, like all of the Disney movies. And it's just not the story that happens. And when that story gets broken and your heart gets broken, you really start to understand and navigate who you are again without these connections. Like, they talk about the 5 people who you spend the most time with influence you in so many ways. And that's exactly that. At 19 years old, moving away from the 3 people who influenced me the most, my parents and my sister, also my best friend and my boyfriend. It was a massive change for me that really made me understand what I needed and how I wanted to attack life a little bit differently. And then, of course, the big life transition of meeting my forever partner, which obviously I didn't know that when I first met him, but that's a massive change too. Like meeting your person, and for us, meeting each other quite young, we were 21 when we met, changes everything. All of a sudden, you go from this independent life that you had and figuring out who you are at such a young age to also planning a life together, moving in together, figuring out how this is all going to work, and just like navigating a life planning together. And maybe you've experienced that too, where you go from this life transition of only having to think about yourself and planning for yourself to all of a sudden having to plan for another person. That is a big transition that can change everything for you. And of course, big transitions like graduating from university and starting your first big girl job and, buying your first house and all of these things that are kind of like the standard celebratory milestones. I find these ones to be, for me, easier transitions than these unexpected ones. The easier ones I find are the ones that are celebrated by society. Even having a baby, right? Although it creates massive ripples and change in your life and changes your identity in so many ways, it is accepted in society. And I find it makes it a little bit easier. Some of the bigger ones for me was the pandemic, for sure. And moving abroad in the pandemic was also a huge life transition for me. Like it just changed everything. And I'd love to know when I'm sharing these with you, if there's one in particular that pops up in your head. I bet there is. I bet there's a couple that pop up in your head right now that you're like, oh my gosh, these were the life-changing moments that when I look back on in the moment sucked hard. But when I look back on it, it's the thing that shifted everything. It pushed me in a different direction. It forced me to do really hard things that I probably was never going to do had this not happened because I was so comfortable. I actually think comfort is sometimes the thing that holds us back from our truest potential. Comfort makes everything so much harder because nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to feel, the rain in their boots on a long walk. We love a cozy warm couch with a fireplace on and a hot cup of coffee. We love a cozy cuddly cat on our lap. We love a good warm meal that our mom made. Okay, we love these things. These are wonderful, beautiful things that we get to experience, and that comfort is so beautiful. But comfort doesn't push you to where you need to go. And these big life transitions, the reason why they're so effective for change is because they're pushing you into discomfort. They're pushing you out of that comfort zone, into the fear zone, and you got to figure your shit out for the first time in a really long time. And I believe we can do this with kindness. As the person with the glitter goggles on who's going to look at it all with a smile, I know we can do this really softly and in a way that's effective. And so if you've been around for a long time, I talked about this in the very first podcast episode that I was starting a project called the Year of Confidence. And this came out of that life transition of living abroad after the pandemic and trying to find who I am. Really trying to navigate what I want in this world and find my confidence again and to start new endeavors and businesses and attract people into my life that felt really aligned. And that was a really wild year for me. A lot of things changed. Not only was it starting this podcast, but it blew up in a really beautiful way. And I connected with so many people and I launched my business. We moved into a new house. I ran a race that I hadn't run in a really long time. Like there's just so many things and it changed my life for the better. That kind of energy builds momentum, and that momentum is something that I have been craving since that project finished. And especially since having my son, he'll be 18 months at the end of this month. So a year and a half, and you have a year and a half plus the 9 months of being pregnant. I just don't feel like I've had that kind of challenge. Obviously it's quite challenging to create a baby, build a baby, and, keep it alive. That is a different kind of challenge. But this is more of like a self challenge a push for me. And that's why I created this tracker and I put it up, and I know that I need to do the things that I say I'm going to do, especially before we decide to expand our family anymore. Like, I need to do something for me, and I need it to feel like it's making my life better. So that's the biggest thing when it comes to these life transitions. It's about you finding the thing that's going to push you forward, and it's also going to bring that excitement back into your life. So some of the things that I really like to do in these transitions is to ask yourself who you are. Who am I? I know, hardest freaking question. You're just like, I'm Jess. I have a dog and a kid and a husband, and, I like to eat. But I want you to go deeper. Right? Navigating who you are by asking yourself, what do you like? What would I want? If it was my birthday, what would I want to experience today? What kind of cake would I want to have? How would I want to celebrate? What would bring me joy? And start there. Because oftentimes in these big seasons of change, joy is the thing we put on the back burner because everything else is so freaking chaotic in front of us. But I want you to find that one thing that lights you up. One thing. Maybe it's reading your book in the sunlight outside in the morning. Or I was talking to a client this morning who was going for morning walks, getting out in the morning and getting some sunshine on her skin and enjoying summer. I have been loving sitting on the deck and sipping whatever I want to sip, and my little guy is playing in his water table. These little simple moments bring joy. We're not talking about big, massive things, although they can be. But starting at that foundation of joy is going to be the best place for you to build from, because it's going to bring that light and bring that spark back a lot sooner. So ask yourself, what would bring me joy today? What would be fun today? I have 15 minutes. What would be fun? I really hope the answer is not scrolling on your phone, okay? Because I just don't think that that's supporting us in the way that maybe it used to. And I'm not saying there's not a place for scrolling, because we all do it, and I do get some really great messages, and I am loving my feed lately, but I do think we need to be focusing on something that's not someone else's life. I want it to be your life. I want it to be your joy and your experiences, and I'm a girly who loves reality TV too, so I love to experience other people's lives and use that as inspiration, but it's time that we start to pull from our own. So what is it that's going to bring you joy today? Maybe it's a walk down at the beach. I can't say the word because my dog's right there. But maybe it's that. Maybe it's getting some sand on your feet or growing some plants. It's on my vision board to grow a vegetable, okay? And it's going to happen because there are some that are doing okay. I need to put more effort there, but I think it's going to happen. And there was a couple that I needed to plant. And I was chasing after the baby, and my husband was doing the planting. And I looked at him, I said, no, I want to plant the plant. Like, I just want to physically plant it so that I can say that I planted something. Even if nothing grows, I just need to plant something. I need to plant something, okay? And sometimes we just need to speak up, because that was going to bring me joy, to get my hands dirty, to put the plants in the pots. And again, nothing might come from it, but something might. And it's worth a try for me right now. So find that thing and bring it to life. In these seasons of transition, consistency is really important. I think showing up over and over again, more than that one time, is really helpful. Because we're shifting into a new identity. And as we're shifting into a new identity, that takes consistency. That takes us showing up, even if it's just for a few minutes every single day, so that you can start to build that character that you're becoming and start to do the things that you say you're going to do. So my consistency tracker that I made, and I'll put this in the show notes in case you want a 30, 60, or 90-day consistency tracker. I built it so that I could gamify my consistency. I love a good sticker, okay? I'm going to put a sticker there. I got to go pick some up at the dollar store before I go pick up my son. But I wanted it to be what I built in my year of confidence. So I like to keep goals really simple, and so that I can do them. Even on the hardest day, I can do them. And so one of the things I built was what I call a 10-10-10. 10 minutes of 3 different activities every single day. So for me, it's movement, mindset, and meditation. Those are my 3. They've always been my foundational 3 that have helped me to understand myself and what I need, because it gives me enough time for stillness, growth, and also for that energy boost. I need those 3 things every single day, and I just haven't been doing them. So we're going to be consistent with my sticker chart, and that consistency builds character. That's the challenge that's going to help me to start to say, I do the things that I say I'm going to do, especially after a season of change when I need to build confidence again. Confidence comes from you showing up, from you doing the things you say you're going to do. So what is that thing that you've been saying? Oh my gosh, I would love to do that. Grow a plant. Maybe it is to be more consistent with movement. I know a lot of people have been feeling that pull lately, especially with the nicer weather out there, which is so great. Maybe it's a hobby that you've been wanting to do. You got your watercolor paint sitting there and they've been looking at you, and you're just like, maybe I could do some painting. Maybe I could do some diamond art. Maybe I could start hiking more. It doesn't have to be big things. If you're like me, where I get tripped up is that I want to do everything all at once. I want everything. Even today, as I was trying to figure out what to do when, it's like I'd see a new thing in the house that I need to do. I got to put the laundry on. I got to do the dishes. I got to eat some lunch. Oh, I want to read that book for a few minutes. Oh, wait, I said I was going to meditate. Okay, I'm going to meditate. I got to do that podcast episode. Oh, I should kiss the dog. And it's like, oh, take the diapers out. Like little things that like change how your brain thinks and moves and grows. You just got to focus on one small thing at a time. And if you're like me and you like all of the things because your brain is chaotic, write them in the note section, but only commit to one thing at a time. Maybe it's for 30 days. Maybe it's read a chapter every day for 30 days. When you've done that, we can add on the next thing. Okay, if it's still aligned and you want to do it, add on the next thing. But that's the piece that always trips me up the most is I want to do everything all at once and then I do nothing. So if that's like you too, in seasons of change, I want you to just pick one thing, because at the end of the 30 days, if you've done one thing consistently for 30 days, you're going to feel so dang good. You are going to feel so dang good. Consistency builds confidence. You showing up and saying the things you're going to do, it is going to change your character. So just do it really simply. One small thing. Don't overthink it. What's the one thing that'll bring you joy this summer? And I want you to do it consistently every single day. A walk around the block. Like a chapter a day, a meditation, 5 minutes, 1 minute, yoga, whatever is for you. I actually would love to know. Please send me a message with what that thing is for you. The thing that you have been saying you want to do, but just haven't gotten there. Send me a DM on Instagram so that I can know what it is, because I'm just curious. We all have different things, and I like to use it as examples because people will resonate with you. They are going to connect with your story. Maybe even more than my story, right? They're going to connect with something. So it's really helpful if you are sharing some of these things with you so I can use them as examples. So thank you, my sister. And the last thing I'm going to say for this episode, because I think this could be a series. I think with all of us going through some big, massive changes lately, this is an important focus for us. That identity piece, that self energy that we need to understand and navigate as we go through seasons of change. But this, more important than anything, is to be a little softer with yourself in this season. If you are going through a season of change, we can be really freaking hard on ourselves. We can be extra hard on ourselves because we have a standard for ourselves, a standard for others around us, and we want to keep up to that. But sometimes we got to lighten up a little in these seasons of change because we're a whole new, brand new person that has to experience the world in a different way, that sees things differently than they did before, that responds to things differently than they did before, that has energy that's different than it was before. And I really want you to just be kinder to yourself, softer, understanding. Think of yourself as your best friend. If your best friend called you up and their boyfriend just broke up with them and they're going through this crazy change in their life, what would you tell them? What would you expect from them? What would you do for them, and how would you show up for them? And I want you to write that out. And when you realize that, we got to do that for ourselves, okay? If you would show up to your girlfriend's house with snacks and distractions and fun, I want you to get some snacks, some distractions, and some fun for yourself. If you're convincing your bestie to go out on a road trip, I want you to think about that for yourself. How can you create that experience for you? Because you need this just as your best friend would, just as your sister would, just as anybody who's going through a life change would, that you would give for them. I need you to be giving it to yourself. So give yourself that energy, give yourself that gift of honoring the change, honoring the season, and allowing yourself that space. Just like I talked about that rose dragon at the beginning, doing everything with love. We do everything with love for our community, for our people. I really want you to do this for love too. Do these habits that you want to create, the things that you want to build in your life. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I want that consistency tracker, I got you. It's in the show notes, okay? To an idea into what it would be like to build my own year of confidence, because I feel like this is my motherfucking year. SEO. I'm going to put the first week of Confidently You for free in the show notes also for you to check out. So you'll be able to access all of the information from week 1 that just helps you to start the foundation of building your year of confidence all in there. And if it's something that you're like, no, I want to go all through the 12 weeks of Confidently You, I'll put that in the show notes for you also to check out and to just dive into a little bit, because I think this is a really great time. I was talking with the sisters about this. We have 6 months left of 2026, which is mind-blowing when we think about it like that. But 6 months, your life can change in so many ways in 6 months if we show up right now, if we do something for ourselves right now. And it doesn't have to be big things. It can be really simple things, but we do need to change something. We do need to show up and we need to take action. So if you want in these big life transitions to experience the full transformation, let's take some action. With kindness, with love, but consistency is really important here. So let's become that butterfly, sisters. Let's become it together, because I'm right there with you in this season of change, of navigating what I want to achieve. And I've been saying it on here for a while. There's big things. And sometimes you just got to ignore the big things and do the small things, because it's going to lead to those big changes, one small step at a time. So if you're listening to this and you resonate with today's episode and you're just like, I have a friend who's going through this and needs to hear this episode, please send it to her. Send it over to her right now. I want you to just pop that one over into a text for her so that she can listen to this, because we need to band together. We need those reminders. And if you're listening to this and you've sent it to your friend and you love it, I would really appreciate a rating today on wherever you listen to your podcast, because that makes a huge difference for us creators to have the support and the star ratings. It really helps us to push this out to so many people. So thank you for listening, for being a part of my community, and for your support, and also for supporting yourself, because you deserve it. You deserve the confidence, you deserve the love, and you deserve the change, because you're just absolutely magic. Am I right? So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.